Run, you're free. Go, go. It looks like this is the emerald standard for villager halls these days in Minecraft. Tiny one by one holes where the villagers live out their days on call 24/7 to trade anytime the player wants. Whether you call it a cubicle, a workstation, or a cell, it's still a prison for these poor villagers. Let's build a free range trading hall that allows the villagers to have more freedom to move while still serving our needs. That way, we can gain the benefits of trading without sacrificing the movement and fun and whimsy that villagers can bring to our Minecraft world. Hey y'all, I'm the Southern Ma'am, but all my friends call me Tasoma. How do we make a trading hall like this one, where the villagers clock in and out on our time schedule? Let's rewind and go back to the beginning. Let's begin by finding a village and observing the villagers' daily schedule and routines. It's morning, so the villagers are wide awake and just wandering to start their day. At 8 a.m., it's time to head to their workstations. The villagers continue to work diligently until quitting time. Then it's time to gather at the town center and do a little gossiping and sharing the news of the day. There's a little time left just to wander and explore the town. As the sun sets on another beautiful day, everyone goes home to bed. Sweet dreams. Trading with villagers in an open village like this can be tedious because workstations are scattered in different buildings far across the village. It takes time to travel, find the wandering villager, and complete all of your trades. That's why villager trading halls, where the villagers are concentrated in one area, are so popular. Our villager trading hall will combine the best of both worlds, still allowing the villagers to move freely while making it a little easier for trading by concentrating the workstations. Our build will be inspired by this vanilla structure. This is Plains Village Meeting Point 4. I'm going to slightly modify this blueprint style and build it a little closer to the houses over here so the villagers don't have such a long commute to work. So, let's get to building. We've built our basic trading hall right here just past the village center and near all of the houses. The stalls are based on that blueprint for the Plains Meeting Spot 4. We've just shrunk them a little closer together and added more. So we now have 5 stalls, and we're going to set these up for 10 villager workstations. First, however, we need to break all the workstations in our village so the villagers will want to come to our trading hall. So let's find all of the composters and brew stands and break them and turn all our villagers unemployed. Now that everyone is unemployed, we can add workstations to our trading hall for them to discover. We're going to make a trading hall of just librarians to start with, and there's plenty of room here for 2 workstations under each stall. That would give us a total of 10 villagers. Of course, this hall could be expanded into bigger size, but this is a good starting place. And you can already see the villagers are coming here and finding their workstations and becoming librarians. It's really this easy to make a free range trading hall. You can walk in here and trade with any of our 10 villagers during work hours. Then, at the end of the workday, they will gather at the village square for some socialization time. As the sun sets, they will head to their respective homes to get a good night's sleep. While this design allows for maximum villager movement, it's not without its issues. First of all, it's a little chaotic. They can work on either side of the workstation or even on top of it. The villagers also wander away from their station as if they're looking for supplies or taking a break and then wander back. It does make trading a little more free flowing where you have to find who you're looking for if you want to make a specific trade. In addition, they will only be in this area during the work schedule hours. What if you want to trade more during the day, late or early? You would have to track down the villager somewhere else in the village. And of course, that takes time and effort. We can take this build up a notch and give it a little more structure and definition, allowing the villagers to move about, but also controlling those movements and the timing of their schedules. It just takes a little bit of structure to influence their pathfinding and a tiny bit of redstone. Let's start by controlling the villagers to work only on the outsides of their stalls here. We'll make it so that the player is the only one who can come in the center. That way, this is like the trading area and the work area is on the outside. So we can make this a complete circle with fence posts by just connecting up the stalls with fences like so. And villagers cannot open fence gates. So already we have made this a villager trading hall where the player enters the center and the villagers work on the outside. You may have also noticed that the villagers were jumping up and walking on their workstations. This is a 2-block height, so we need to block this off so they can't escape back into the center of the trading hall. So we can just add some slabs to the underside of this. Now we can't use trapdoors here because the villagers don't see trapdoors as a full block. And so even if it's short, they would just jump and hit their head. Oh, we better hurry before these villagers come to work. One more. Whew, just in the nick of time. All right, everyone's coming into work, and as you can see, they are now on the outside of the trading hall at their workstations instead of in the center. They're also not jumping up and down on top of their stalls. To me, this is already a big improvement. The villagers don't look as wild and scattered. They look much more professional. Now, they do still wander away from their workstation, but they return to it fairly soon. One thing we haven't done yet is lock in their trades. So let's come on and do some trading and see what these villagers have to offer us. We're going to buy at least something from everybody so their trades will be locked in. I spent a few Minecraft days and a lot of emeralds leveling all of these librarians up into master level librarians. Therefore, I have several chests full of books and other supplies from all my purchases. We'll deal with those in a little bit. First, though, I'd like to label all of these stalls so that we know what each librarian sells. Even though they wander, they do come back to the same workstation. I've labeled the book sales for all of our villagers. Now, for fun, I leveled all these up without breaking any lecterns. So these are the first roles that these villagers would have had as they became librarians. So you can see we got some interesting book choices here. Some really good and some not so good. But it's just to show you how it works. I also narrowed down the choices for the shelves because I couldn't display every trade that the villagers had. I decided to narrow it down to the 2 purchases of paper and books that the villagers will buy from you, and the 2 sales of bookshelves and glass. I figure if I was trading with these villagers, those would be my main sources of purchases or sales. Now that we have a basic trading hall, here's where we can really level it up. The villagers are only here during work hours, but maybe we want to have them work some overtime. We want to trade longer in the day, allowing them to move about and at least get some sleep at night, but be here more than the normal working hours. We can use villager pathfinding and a tiny bit of redstone to make this happen. Villager pathfinding calculates a cost for traveling different directions toward the workstation or another point of interest, and then they choose the path with the lowest cost. We want to manipulate that pathfinding by making our preferred path the least costly. For our purposes here, that typically means the shortest path. We are making a fence all the way around the trading hall at a distance of 9 blocks from the workstations. That way, the villagers can't reach their lecterns until we make a shorter, more direct path, and they will choose that one every time. As the villagers start heading to their workstations, you can see that they'll try to find the most direct path to their station. So they see these open spaces and they use those to go directly to their workstations. Let's build some actual employee entrances so we can even further control these villagers' movements. To begin our employee entrance, I've made a simple indentation in the fence line with some gates right across from the middle workstations on both sides. As you can see the villagers filing in, they see that pathway brings them closer to their workstations and they head right for it. However, at 1500 hours or 9,000 game ticks, the villagers' daily schedule will cause them to leave their workstations to gather at the village bell. What if we want our villagers to work longer hours? This is where the redstone comes in. We're going to use a 2-gate system to make our villagers stay longer and work some overtime. Let's refer back to the villager schedule. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to use game ticks for the time. Our hard-working overtime villagers still need to clock in around 2,000 game ticks to start their day, so the gates to the employee entrance need to be open at that time. However, at least one gate has to close before 9,000 ticks so that the villagers can't leave the trading hall during the gather time. Finally, both gates will need to open at the end of the day at 12,000 ticks so that the villagers can go home for bed. Now, that might all sound complicated, but it is going to be super easy to implement using the daylight detectors. A regular daylight detector outputs a redstone signal based on exposure to skylight. If we click it and invert it, it can then send a constant signal that weakens with exposure to light. Basically, we can use the daylight detectors to control the gates for us. A daylight detector will output a power level of 12 at the 2,000 game tick mark where we need the gate to open to start our workday. After noon, the daylight levels are declining. Gather time begins at 9,000 game ticks, which is during power level 13. We therefore want the daylight detector to close the gate when it loses power 14 before that happens. Now, the inverted daylight detector works a little differently. However, you can see on this graph with the dark blue line that at 12,000 game ticks, it outputs a signal of 1, which we can use to open our gates and let the villagers go home for the night. Let's put all of that information into practice. Here, let's add a second set of gates in our employee entrance. Now, we do need a double set of double gates. You'll see why when we add in the daylight detectors. Let's replace this corner fence post with a solid block next to our gate because the redstone signal can travel through a solid block. We want this gate to be open at power level 12, so it's as easy as placing 12 redstone dust connected to the daylight detector. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and daylight detector. The other gate needs to be unpowered when we lose level 14. So 14 redstone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 daylight detector. We can even combine our lines to save on resources. Now we need to wire up the inverted daylight detector on the other side of the gates. We only need a power level of 1 for this one, so we can install the inverted daylight detector between the two gates and use it to control both at the same time. Last but not least, we're going to add 2 pressure plates out front. Notice the daylight detectors powering the redstone and the gates opening and closing throughout this time lapse. Just past 22,000 game ticks, the light levels begin to increase for the start of a new day. Therefore, our inverted daylight detector closes the gates on the right. As sky light levels increase, the daylight detector increases its power output until it reaches level 12, which then opens the inside gate on the right at around 1800 game ticks. At around 2,000 game ticks, the workers are pathfinding toward their workstations. They see this as the shortest path due to the indent in our fence. However, their outer gate is blocked. That's where the pressure plates come in because the villagers can use those to open the outer gates and head on into the trading hall. When the power level to the outer gate reaches 14, the outer gate opens. However, this really doesn't affect anything because the villagers are already inside at work. However, as the afternoon light fades and the power level drops from 14 to 13 on the left outer gate, the gate closes around 8,800 game ticks. This is just before the 9,000 game tick change from work to gather. The villagers will wander away from their workstations, but they won't be able to leave the trading hall. Finally, around 12,000 game ticks, the inverted daylight detector will cause both right gates to open so everyone can go home to bed. Regardless of functionality, we also want this to have some aesthetic. So we're going to turn this into an actual employee entrance so our villagers can clock in and out of their job site. We're also going to hide all of these redstone ropes underground just so everything looks a little nicer. Let's check out our new employee entrance. As you enter, there's a place on the side here for you to leave your personal belongings and, of course, a record of our safety incidents here at work. We need to work hard to stay safe. On the other side is the time clock with clock in and clock out. I left the redstone and the daylight detector here exposed. I thought it was just an interesting way to show kind of the mechanics of a time clock. As the villagers arrive, they head right through those gates to their workstations. Sometimes they get a little confused. This guy is going all the way around. Hopefully he'll find the other entrance. He did. So, having an entrance on both sides helps with the pathfinding. If you find that your villagers are still really struggling, you can put another one of these in the back across from the back workstations. So far, I've found that with 10 villager workstations, having one on each side has been sufficient. While we left this daylight detector exposed, we hid the other ones. Instead of having that redstone all snaking across the ground, we dug underneath and placed it deep underground, coming out right here where these moss carpets are. So there's our daylight detectors, and the redstone goes underground all the way across. It's a perfect 14 redstone dust to this one going to our left, and the same thing from here going to our right. Because we have a two centered build here, we couldn't get them to connect together. But if you had a one center, you could probably have gotten away with just one daylight detector and they would have joined up nicely. Now, the daylight detectors can see through carpet. So if we just cover these up, they can still be functional because they have sky access, but we won't even see them. A couple extra carpets here and there for some texture, and we wouldn't even know that's what's hidden under our carpets. As you can see, we've chopped up this front space with quite a few fence lines, trying to work with the villagers' optimal pathfinding. Some of these do need to stay, especially the outermost rings, but we can reimagine some of these inner spaces and use them for other functions. One way that I would like to use these is for some copper golem sorting. We have chests upon chests back there of items from our villager trading earlier that are just thrown in all willy nilly, and we could use the copper golems to sort them. We also could liven this place up with a little bit of decoration. So, once again, let's level up this trading hall. Take a look at our finished villager trading hall. We tried to keep the design simple yet fun with the open air concept market stalls, just like our inspiration from the Plains meeting place. Our copper golems are on either side sorting out all of our items if we'll just drop them off in these chests. Now, the book side is actually pretend because even though he's cute with his poppy, this copper golem cannot sort books into the individual types. So this kind of is just for show. This guy, though, sorting out all the other supplies like glass and books, can do his job very well and keep everything organized for us by just dumping them off in the chest. Then all of our villagers are working away at their workstations around the center here. Our employee entrances are working to clock our villagers in and out of their workstations. And we even created some little rest places back here at the back. So there's a little library with some seats for our villagers to take a break, some tables and chairs for them to enjoy a snack from the grill. All in all, I think this villager trading hall brings a lot of fun and movement and life to our village while still giving us the efficiency of trading with our villagers all in one place. Now that we know how to functionally create a villager trading hall, the sky's the limit on design choices. Even by just changing the color and the patterns and the textures, you can get a completely different look. This trading hall was built for farmers, so in the back we have composters at every workstation and some farms to keep them harvesting their crops in that back open space. Now, farmers are a little more chaotic because they do have those pathfinding abilities to get to the crops. However, this design still works as long as you place several crops around their area for them to harvest. Of course, we don't have to have an open air market. We could close the entire structure in and make it an enclosed building space. Now that you have the template for the redstone and the gates and the functional bits, the possibilities for design are infinite. Of course, there are safety issues with this design. The villagers aren't safe, they're not locked up in a one by one hole. So you have to light up the village and protect against those nighttime mobs. However, I feel like the whimsy, the movement, and character that it gives to the village is worth the trade off. Well, what did you think? I hope today's video inspired you to build your own trading hall that gives the villagers a little more opportunity for movement. Maybe just let them work 9 to 5 instead of 24/7. Good Lord willing and sun still shines, I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you kindly for watching and bless your heart.